Good evening and I welcome you students. We have finished students the chapter of natural resources, and in this we already told you what are the natural resources on earth student. You know the life on earth depends on biotic and abiotic factors. What are type of factors are there student? There are living organisms, there are plants, animals, microorganisms, and what you have? You have an atmosphere, you have air, you have water, you have soil, and you have sun as a source of energy. So there is a constant interaction between all these different components which we have discussed, biotic and abiotic, which makes a biosphere on which the life exists on planet Earth. And we have discussed that there are conditions which must be fulfilled in order for life to exist anywhere on the universe. And we have also discussed temperature, rainfalls, winds which are blowing on earth, atmosphere, how it helps us in living a life on earth, and how every organism, living organism is important. There is a food chain, food web which is going on, and every living organism is contributing for the existence of our life. And you have seen how the rain takes place. We have discussed the water cycle, and it involves evaporation of the water and then condensation, precipitation. You have seen there are different rainfall patterns depending on the wind patterns in an area. In our country also, you have seen where there is a large amount of rainfall which is taking place, where the large amount of rainfall is taking place in your country, students. So rains are taking place, but important point is that there are water cycles. What is the purpose of water cycle? Why water cycle takes place, student? What is the purpose of water cycle? The amount of water that goes into the atmosphere comes back. You have seen where maximum water is already there. You have oceans, and then there is underground water. Then we have discussed the nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle. Different cycles are working, students. Oxygen cycle. What is happening? There is a constant, the elements in one or the other form of their compounds, they are constantly interacting and going into the abiotic and biotic components, and the overall amount remains constant. We have also discussed with you students that the coming challenge to man is pollution. What type of pollution we discussed, student? First of all, we discussed air pollution, and you have seen what are the factors in this chapter which are responsible for air pollution. What are the factors? Can you tell me, student, few factors which are responsible for air pollution? What are the factors, students?
Sir, burning of fossil fuels.
Okay. So, students, you can see there are different type of factors now which are existing, student. Not only burning of, so many factors we have discussed for this. Then we have also discussed water pollution, which is also a serious problem. Contamination of the water, how it is going to affect the life, student, and how fertilizers, insecticides, which are being used in the modern farming, they are affecting our soil, student. So we have discussed how soil is formed, student, and what is the quality of the soil. And we have also talked about what is soil erosion. Soil erosion. So the big question is how to conserve our natural resources. That whatever natural resources we have, they must be conserved in order to have an equivalence student. If we will deplete them, if we will overuse them, what will happen? Their equivalence will be disturbed. Therefore, this chapter is very essential and important that we conserve our natural resources, but we have to use them. Use them, but how much you have to use, this will be decided by the activities of the man and what we talk of in a sustainable manner. And today we have a discussion is on question answers from the topic of natural resources student. First question is on the screen, students. What are different states in which water is found, student? What are different states in which water is found, student, during the water cycle? You have 1 minute to answer any question, students.
Sir, skin is not visible.
Not visible.
Yes, sir, it is just showing that you
Okay,
have
okay,
started skin food.
okay. Now it has come.
No, sir.
Screen is not coming.
Now it has come, sir. Now it has.
Okay. All right, students. So the question number 1 is on the screen. What are the different states in which water is found during the water cycle? We have discussed water cycle, students. What are the different states? In which
Sir,
water is...
gaseous state.
What do you mean by state, student? State of water means you have water, student. The formula of which you are saying is H2O. You have water in the liquid. Then you have water in the solid form. And you have water in the gas form, student. Right?
Yes, sir.
So you have H2OL. All the oceans, rivers, whatever you have H2O solid, student. Your ice, glaciers. Okay? You have a lot of ice and you have water vapor. The water vapor is there. All these are the 3 states, right? So you have 3 states. Physical states of water, solid, liquid, and gas. So water cycle, is going through these 3 stages. How the water evaporates from the oceans when sun rises in the morning and then is carried away by the hot air. Condensation takes place, expansion, and clouds are formed. Condensation, and then when the droplets become bigger, there are particles which act as a nucleus, and what happens? Precipitation takes place and the rain falls. So something was there about the water cycle. Okay, students. All right. Question number 2 is on the screen, students. Name 2 biological important compounds that contain both oxygen and nitrogen. You are aware. Your body, what is your body, student? What do you have in your body?
The proteins and nucleic acid.
Proteins. Proteins are polymers of amino acids. They are nothing but polymers of amino acids, students. Proteins. So you are eating proteins are required for your body, the whole body, whichever you have, skin and all that. There are different type of proteins in the body. You have also about DNA and RNA, students. DNA, deoxyribonucleic acids, ribose nucleic acids. Then you are aware of, students, urea, there is a nitrogen, oxygen. There are many compounds, so many biologically important. These are biologically because to the biosystem, we are using them, students. So you have many of these, student, and there are many vitamins also, which contains oxygen and nitrogen. You will learn the names of the vitamin, everything in the next class as you go higher. All right, students. List any 3 human activities which would lead to increase in carbon dioxide content in the air, students. Human activities. What human activities are responsible for emission of carbon dioxide?
Sir, deforestation.
Deforestation. Very good. What you are saying? The cutting of trees, plants, students. Okay.
The burning of fossil fuels.
Burning of fossil fuels. Which fossil fuels you are burning, student? You are burning coal, wood, you are burning coal, you are burning, and petroleum products, other fuels also, natural gas, all this. What other activities are taking place? You can say vehicular pollutions, industrial pollutants, or waste. So all this is happening. There are so many things which we have discussed in this. Another question is coming, student. What is a greenhouse effect? Is a very important question for the coming exam, student. What is a greenhouse effect, students? We talked of sun glass house, student. What is happening? What is a greenhouse? We discussed, student. What was a greenhouse? We talked of a glass house, student. Sheet made up of a glass. What it did, student? It trapped the heat of the sun, and temperature inside the, what will happen? Enclosure became little higher than the surroundings. So how will you answer this question?
Sir, when there is a increase in amount of carbon dioxide gas, the temperature of the earth increases. This is called as greenhouse.
There are some gases, student. We can say there are some gases like carbon dioxide, methane, ठीक है, etc. I'm saying few more we discussed in the detail. What they do? They trap sunlight, ठीक है, in glass enclosure, ठीक है, in glass enclosures. That is what we call as a greenhouse. What happened then? The temperature, ठीक है, due to greenhouse effect student rises, ठीक है, rises. The gases prevent, what the gases do? They prevent escape of heat from the earth, student, ठीक है. So this is increasing the temperature. The increase in temperature due to increase in temperature due to greenhouse gases. Mainly you are talking of CO2, ठीक है, like CO2, or there could be some other, ठीक है. The increase in temperature due to greenhouse gases is called greenhouse effect. And what is the consequence of the greenhouse effect? What it causes? Greenhouse effect, students, causes, or I can say is the cause of
Global warming.
Okay. Questions could be put in many ways and many forms. Some questions are very important and we should know how to answer those questions, students. What are the two forms of oxygen in the atmosphere, students?
Sir, one form is elemental form.
I'm saying like this, okay. I'm putting it like this. Right?
Yes, sir. Next is ozone.
Ozone. There is an ozone gas in the which layer of the earth ozone is there? There are different layers of the atmosphere, what we call them as. We have shown it the diagram also, because ozone is very important for us. It helps us in absorption of ultraviolet harmful radiations. But stratosphere, or which part is that? The part of the atmosphere. If it lives in our atmosphere very close to us, then it is a toxin and a poison. You know about it. We have shown the images of that student in our previous YouTube lectures, and students can see them. Okay, student exercises questions are coming from the NCERT. Question number 1 is on the screen, student. Why is atmosphere essential for life, students? Why is atmosphere essential for life, students? What is our answer? What answer you are giving?
Sir, atmosphere helps in keeping average temperature of Earth during daytime constant and during nighttime.
We should write different points because there are many reasons for that. First, you are saying atmosphere contains oxygen gas, student, ठीक है, which is essential for our life, ठीक है, oxygen gas which is essential for what we call as a breathing.
Yes.
ठीक है, you are breathing, I am breathing, which is essential for breathing for life. Why? What is the role of oxygen? What the oxygen does in our body? Our cells need oxygen for what purpose? Why do the cell needs oxygen, students? Tell me what the oxygen does. What is the respiration? What happens during respiration, students? When I take oxygen in my body, what is happening? What reaction? To break down, what do they do? To break down glucose, the sugar which is their molecules to release, what do they do? Release energy. So they will release energy, student, to perform activities. Can cells survive without oxygen?
No, sir.
So that process is taking place. What is the second thing?
Sir, carbon dioxide is required by plants for photosynthesis.
Air is a bad conductor, we told you, of heat. Okay. Then what it does? Prevents sudden increase and decrease in temperature. If there is a very sudden increase or decrease in temperature during daytime and night, what will happen then? Then life will become difficult. Okay? And also you are saying photosynthesis takes place when plants take CO2 gas, carbon dioxide, sunlight. So all these few things we have discussed. There could be something more. It acts as a thermostat, maintains a constant temperature. You have anything more? You can talk about that. You can learn more about this. Question number 2 is coming. These are important questions and repeatedly asked, not only in your class, they will be asked in many other exams also, because they are related to our life, student, how we are existing on planet Earth. Next question is on the screen. Why is water essential for life? What answers were discussed for water, students?
Sir, all cellular processes take place in water.
First, you are saying all cellular processes, chemical, or what other processes could be there? All cellular processes. I'm putting processes then rather than general word. All cellular processes occur in water as a medium. Water as a medium. Number 2,
The substances are transported from one part of body to other.
transportation of different substances, materials in the body takes place in water. Next, in our everyday life, what you are doing? Water is used for, you are drinking, you are taking bathing, you are cooking food, cleaning, everything you need water, student. So many things. Without water, how can we survive? Then there are aquatic life, aquatic animals. They live and survive in water. Plants need water. Water is a solvent. What is a solvent?
Which can dissolve solute in it.
Substances dissolve in the body also. It acts as a solvent. It is a solvent, student. So different substances get dissolved in water. In our body also. And chemical reactions occur, like digestion, etc. All that is taking place in them. Okay. There could be more, students. So much we have told in the previous lectures. You can watch them and see. There are so many reasons have been given, student. Next question is coming, student. How are living organisms dependent on the soil? Are organisms that live in water totally independent of soil as a resource? Questions were discussed in different way, but once they are asked like this, student, then we have to be sure what answers have to be written. How are living organisms dependent on the soil? What does the living organism get from the soil? What do you get from the soil? First thing, what you are getting from the soil? Get food from the soil. And the soil, what is the soil? Is a mixture of what we gave definition. Soil is a mixture of minerals. Minerals are there and contains living organisms. There are living organisms in the soil. Okay? What do they do? What are the living organisms in the soil? You may have certain earthworms. You have bacteria. You have fungi, student. What are the decomposers? Termites. What is the function? They help in doing what? Help in student. What do they do? They help in providing nutrients. They help in providing student nutrients to the soil and even maintain certain geochemical cycles. Geochemical cycles like nitrogen fixation, etc. Did you see that?
Yes, sir.
Carbon cycle, etc. So much function is there. And are organisms that live in water totally dependent of soil as a resource? What is your answer, student?
No, sir.
Are organisms that live in water totally independent of soil as a resource? The organisms that live in water, ठीक है, are not totally independent of soil as a resource. What is the reason? Reason. You have to give the reason. What reason you are giving, students?
Because sir, soil have trees which help in various biochemical bio uh, geochemical cycles.
Because nutrients from the soil flow into water. Flow into water, student. There are nutrients in the soil. Rainfall will take place, different things. What will happen? Slowly and slowly. Water is falling from, from flowing. Water is flowing. Water will carry these nutrients of the soil to the water bodies, lakes, rivers, etc. So what happens then? They the nutrients from the soil flow into water, uh, which are required, student, ठीक है, which are required for what was that? Which are required for the organisms that live in water. Required for organisms which live in water. I hope that anything else? Let us see the next question, students. You have seen weather reports on television and in a newspaper. How do you think we are able to predict the weather? Question is how you are able to predict the weather. You have 2 to 3 minutes to answer the question. Try to understand the question before you answer the question, students. Question is mainly how to predict the weather, student. Weather depends on what condition? You are saying rain is taking place. Somewhere you are saying snow is falling, students.
Temperature.
So there are certain factors which can be used to predict. And what will we say, right? The weather is decided by factors. What are the factors, student, which will decide the weather? Ultimately, we are talking about that thing now. So how will you write the answer? What you study, basically? The meteorological department is studying what to predict the weather, student. Do you have any idea? What they study? Weather forecast now. I mean, we have to be. Now this is interesting because we see the news sometimes and say, oh, weather forecast. You see the weather forecast on television? Okay. Of different countries, they're saying weather forecast, student. So how they are predicting the weather forecast? How we are thinking about it? Everything we have to think, nothing to, I mean, trying to find out what factors they are using, student. So you are saying one factor could be, student, how will you say there will be rainfall or there will be something? What you know? What patterns are there? What they study the wind patterns. Wind patterns. But how you study the wind patterns? Winds flow due to what reason? That means you have to study the temperature variations. Huh? Due to uneven heating, what we said? Due to uneven heating, what happens? Winds blow. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And these can decide, the wind patterns can decide, student, what they can decide: rainfall. Rainfalls can be decided by the wind patterns. What else is there? When we talk of pressure differences, what pressure? What happens? Certain areas have high pressure, certain areas have low pressure. So certain areas have high pressure, and pressure, pressure, they will measure the pressure. Certain areas have low pressure. So winds will flow which side? Then you have seen winds are flowing from higher pressure to
Lower pressure.
and they can decide then the weather or any other factor. What do you think? Because we are thinking, what is possible? Weather forecast news is given, and there is a meteorological department. What they record, student, what instruments they have, whether there will be rainfall or there would be wind or whatever predictions are made, student, in coastal areas also. There will be severe rains, there will be wind or storms or whatever things are coming. How weather is predicted. Okay, study more about it if you have information that will help us in answering questions. These are some investigative questions. Some research has to be done by the students and they have to study and become alert of the news. Sometimes they tell you, if an interview is held with the metallurgical department, how they are making the measurement, student. We know that human activities lead to increasing level of pollution of air, water bodies, and soil. Do you think that isolating these activities to specific and limited areas would help in reducing the pollution, student? Again, questions are general, but they are important for us because we are working on these things nowadays.
Yes, sir, this would help.
First, tell me, what are the human activities which are leading to air, water, and soil pollution? Which human activities are there, student, which are leading to pollution of air, water, soil? Few of them. Can you tell me which are human activities?
Sir, for air pollution, human activities like vehicular pollution
Fossil
and emission.
fuel combustion. ठीक है? Mainly water pollution, what we discussed in the book.
So the waste from factories.
fertilizers, pesticides, industrial waste. And what is happening to the soil?
Modern farming methods.
We already discussed that. Anything else? What happens? The soil, which we discuss soil erosion methods, how soil erosion took place. There are floods, student, winds blowing, and all that. Right? All these. So now if we know that human activity lead to increasing. Do you think isolating? So yes, if we isolate, if we isolate student human activities, which we mentioned, then what we can do? Isolate human activities to specific and limited areas. And now he is a specific and limited area student. To specific and limited areas, which what it means now? The activities we are not stopping student, but taking to certain specific and limited areas. For example, what they see installation of, what is done student? Installation of brick kiln student away from village, away from city, village, town, and there are certain crushers, grinders student, take them away from where? City, village, and towns, and town student. This will help. And you take industries student away from city, village, and town. What will they do? They will reduce air pollution, right?
Yes, sir.
If I take chemical factories student, where you are taking chemical factories? Away from cities. There are a lot of waste they are throwing in the water. Okay? So if we take them to specific, because he has used word specific and limited areas. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Then they will reduce water pollution. Water pollution. Okay? And disposal of, if we take the disposal of student garbage, waste, and there are something called polythene bags student, where at a particular place, then what will happen? It will reduce soil pollution. You can write more points student. You can write more points. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
I mean, there is a, sometimes you have to write student, but write in a very proper way, because certain questions in the essay forms are important in this case. Write a note how forest influence the quality of air, soil, and water. So is important question, student. You have 2 to 3 minutes to answer the question, students.
Sir, forest controls soil erosion.
That's the only thing. something more important than that? Think about it. Forests are very, very important students. Forests are our lungs students. They provide oxygen. ठीक है? They provide oxygen, and what they do? They are what they are absorbing carbon.
Yes, sir.
So, and forests, what they do? They absorb carbon, student, CO2 during the photosynthesis. So they help maintain, what they carbon dioxide and oxygen ratio. ठीक है? Oxygen ratio in the atmosphere. Because he's talking of quality of air, student. What then? Soil. What happens in the soil? There are three things. What will happen in the soil, student? The roots of the plant, roots of trees and plants, what they do? What they do, student? They bind the soil firmly. Then what will happen? If the soil is bound firmly, what will happen? It will prevent
Soil erosion.
Soil erosion. Soil erosion is very important factor. If soil will erode, you already have a lot of soil erosion, barren land, student, then you can't grow anything there because nutrients are not there. Soil erosion and nutrients are not there. Top soil is not there. Top soil has nutrients, humus, and the living organism. Then growth of plants is not possible. Plantation is not possible then. And what else is there? Water resources. What is, how the forests are helping in water resources? Tell me. What are the water resources, student? Forest regulate, student, water cycle. Then what will happen? ठीक है? And Earth's temperature. So forests cause rains, student, and helps in reducing water shortage. Am I right?
Yes.
So see that question to be answered according to question, as he says, air, soil, and what are the three parts of that? Such questions are asked to the student. Then 1, 2, 3. Got it? Air.
Yes, sir.
This answered the air, and this answered the soil, and this part answered the water. All the three are important for our life, students. Am I right? This
Yes,
ends
sir.
up the exercise questions given in NCERT students. The recorded videos are available. You can share it with your friends and with your parents. Your parents can also learn all this because they are very important things for living, for life, for survival. They are useful for any class. It is not only for ninth. Science means science is for everybody nowadays. It is not meant for one particular student or one class. You go to higher classes, all these concepts will be used. Cycles are working. You will see the same cycles in higher classes also once you go for science. So we end up the session here, student. Next time there will be a quiz and we will answer quiz questions. A live webinar will be there. And by that time, we see you next time. Okay. Bye-bye, students.
Thank you, sir.